Hey everybody, this is Dark Side Elite. Talking about from what I was talking about last night about the Arrow One Season One and what did I think characters and the story. Now let's get back to the whole situation. First of all, this is not a rant. This is just me giving my objective criticism. I have criticized this show very, very much over the last be about 8 years now about this show, but I will always give Stephen Amell, Emily Richards, David Ramsey, Willa Holland, Colton Hayes, Rick Gonzalez, Juliana Hargavy, even Katie Cassidy and Katie Lloyds. Every person who's been a part of this show, I will give them my applaud, and I will also give them my thorough smile because they brought to life these characters for the first time on for the second time on television. And the only thing that I want to say is that I really wished that the producers and the Greg Berlanti, Mark Guggenheim, Andrew Kreisberg, and even Wendy Miracle, and also even now Beth Schwartz, they actually should have taken this show not not a carbon copy of The Dark Knight and took it more into the comic book graphic novels of the Green Arrow. Um, um, so let's get down to it. Stephen Amell. This guy has taken so much criticism, so much verbal abuse from the fans for the past 5 years because they believe that he should have been able to be more vocal about what he wanted for this character and bring it back to how Oliver Queen is in the comics. Now, they did a lot of promises and a lot of assurances over the years that in my personal opinion that they never really lived up to. They just kept going the way they wanted to. And again, I'm all about creative integrity and leaving it to the creators. They want to tell their side of the story, but there was a lost narrative there, and especially with certain characters. And Stephen Amell got lost in there, and so did the character of Oliver Queen. It didn't become Oliver Queen's story. It was more about um, Team Arrow and John Diggle and Felicity Smoke and of course Roy Harper and Thea Queen and um, the new Team Arrow. And it kind of lost in certain ways the love and the care that was needed for this character to really get these characters to get a lot more respect. Um, but let's get down to how Stephen Amell portrayed this character. Now, originally, this has been confirmed that the Dark Knight was a huge inspiration for these guys, and of course, why not? The Dark Knight brought to life a grounded story of Batman and talking about the struggles that Bruce had to go through to become this hero for his city. Um, that's why I feel that that was the direction they wanted to go, and I had no problem with that. Um, however, I kind of wish that they didn't take it that deep into the character. I wish they kind of held back a little bit more and let some storytelling bring out more of that um, more more of that character than what was needed. Um, however, I do wish that they kept going the way they were going to go. And also bring in that lighthearted, jovial Green Arrow that we really, really need, and the sarcastic nature of Green Arrow. He has fun and he lives life to the fullest, and that's his character. And I believe that season one was a perfect setup to bring up his complete change of he's been doing this all wrong. He's been putting arrows into these bad guys. Yes, they're bad guys, but they're still, as Diggle said it, they're still people. And if you could easily kill people, then that makes you no less than the people that you're going against. And Oliver's been on this journey throughout the whole season to right the wrongs of his dad, and over the course of this season, which we now know that his father was a part of this whole rebirth for Starling City and also for the Glades through Malcolm Merlin's um, maneuverings. And I feel that Oliver's story should have been more about um, his trials and tribulations that he went through on the first his first year on the island, and how did that truly craft him into becoming that hero. They did a good job on that. I just feel that they took it in a weird direction, but it's just a little nitpick, not a severe nitpick. So it's not something that I feel that they needed to change. It was just a character nitpick that I feel that that they could have added in there. I do, without a shadow of a doubt, wish that they introduced the fact that Oliver does have a very, very keen eyesight, and he also has a very keen hand-eye coordination. Like, they should have introduced the fact that, like in Smallville, Oliver was already learning archery. Like he took to a bow like a he took to a bow as easily as Felicity could take to a computer. Like it was ingrained in him at a young age, and his dad gave him archery lessons. But over the course of him growing up, he just fell off on it. But when he gets to the island, and he meets Shadow and he meets Slade and he meets Yao Fei, that they basically they sense in him that there's something more with you than what meets the eye, and that should have been that should have been not the course of action, but it should have been our understanding that he took archery at a young age. He already knows how to shoot a bow. He just doesn't know how to shoot a bow for vital spots or for this. He was taking more of the archery for more of as a recreation or like Olympic level. So when we get to Shadow trying to teach him how to shoot a bow, he goes, "Well, I already know how to shoot a bow." She goes, "How do you know how to shoot a bow?" "Well, you know how to shoot a bow, but you don't know how to shoot a bow." And when she sees what he can do, she goes, "Holy crap! When was it the last time you shot a bow?" And he says, "Well, I haven't shot a bow since I was basically like 9 or 10 years old." She goes, "Are you kidding me?" So, and even Slade's kind of like, are you kidding me, kid? You haven't shot a bow that long, and you're able to shoot at least that good. And from our perspective, she goes, from our perspective, he shoots not exactly where he needs to go, but she goes, "Holy crap! You haven't shot a bow in maybe 15 years. I mean, he hasn't shot a bow in close to 10 years, and he's able to hit that good." And that's them telling us that there's not much they could teach him. He's already that good. So they can only have to chip away at the chip away what he's doing wrong, and he's already going to become that good. I wish they introduced that. They should have introduced that with Roy. That he had. They did actually no. I scratched that. I completely scratched that. I think that they did a really good job with Roy. I think Roy is the one of the best written characters on that series because he was rarely on there. They gave him something to do up until season 3. And we'll get into that much later when I recap season 3. But they did a really good job with Roy, and I feel that they did such a great job with Roy that there was nothing they could done wrong with him except give him something to do and not make him the complete sidekick. And especially to Diggle, they should never have made him a complete sidekick to Diggle. He should have been the leader of that group. Like even though he's under the tutelage of Oliver, Oliver trained him to be just as good as him. And yes, Diggle is been there since the very beginning, but Roy is an established DC character. John Diggle is not. And I personally feel that, and again, I'm going a little off, but I'll get back to Oliver. But for Diggle, there's not much there. There's not much there for us as the audience to go, okay, well, it's understandable because the narrative of Arrow has been Diggle is his true partner, is his true best friend, and is also his true brother. We all know that from season 1. However, narrative wise and comic book establishment, Roy being the first sidekick to the Green Arrow, he should have been the one in the forefront, and John should have been teaching him how to become a hero, and also taking a back step, because regardless of how his character is established, the city, the Starling City, looks to a hooded person that wields a bow as the hero. And if they see him taking orders from a dude in a with a helmet on his head, they're going to be confused. They want to see the Green Arrow, and they see a younger version of him in a red, they're going to go, "Oh my God, there's another Arrow." So that's the only thing, and I'll get into a little bit more of those characters a little bit later on. However, let's get back to Oliver. I feel in season one they did him very well done. I think that he was very confused. He didn't understand what he was doing, and he was just so linear about his objectives. He wasn't looking at the bigger picture, and his bigger picture was he was supposed to save his city. He wasn't supposed to destroy it. And in a way, yes, he's taking care of these bad guys, but a lot of these bad guys, they were not the true symptom. The true symptom was that Oliver was adding on to the problem. He as the green as the Hood, they called him the Hood, that he wasn't really saving lives. He was just taking care of the bad guys and letting everything else fall into place. He thought that by taking care of these bad guys that the city will be saved. But no, the symptom is still there. The people don't have an inspiration. They don't have a hero to look up to. And I feel that's what Diggle was trying to illustrate to Oliver in the first few episodes when they finally got together to become this team. And over the course of the season of him saving lives and everything else, you started to see Oliver change a little bit. He started to see as he is helping the city, and he is still taking care of the situation with the list. And these are the list of individuals that Robert and a few of the cohorts, a part of this undertaking that was supposed to happen with Malcolm Merlin. And these are the bad guys that they basically have been funneling their money, and the mob and dirty accountants and some political officials in Starling City that basically has been made sure that they can stay in power the way that where they are. Um, I again personally feel that that was very very well done, and it shows that there was levels of corruption going on in his city that Oliver just didn't know. But he didn't. But as the Arrow, he was so linear about what he wanted to do. He did not know that the symptom was the people. The people just fell into the recourse of it is what it is, and I'm here, they're there, and that's the nature of things. And didn't have an inspiration to look for a better tomorrow. Um, and through Diggle, he started to truly understand that, and also through Felicity, he started to truly understand that, because she brought a naive nature to the group that Diggle has seen some bad stuff, and he's not as broken as Oliver, but he's there, and Felicity, she's an enigma at this point. We don't know very much of her, like we don't very know much of Diggle, and that's only because it's the first season. However, I feel that Felicity's character was brought in to bring that level of naivete and that youthful, wide-eyed nature that got her so popular over the years, that a lot of people really resonated towards. Sorry about that. But for Oliver, he started to slowly grow, and it just grew more and more and more that he was becoming his hero, because even Laurel and started to see this hooded character as a different person, up until the point where we get into season two. Um, uh, and his relationship with Tommy, even though they've been best friends since they were basically in diapers, and that's the way they kind of, they kind of illustrated that the Merlins and the Queens have been best friends since before, since Oliver and Tommy were in diapers. They've been best friends that long, and that's why it was heartbreaking to see Tommy pass away in the season finale. It was heartbreaking for It was heartbreaking for Laurel. It was heartbreaking for Oliver, of course, and it was heartbreaking for Malcolm because and this is the reason why I think Malcolm Merlin was one of the best villains of this series. And he in my personal opinion, he surpasses Prometheus. He surpasses um any other character. And this is the reason why. It's because he was a sociopath. He was a psychopath. Yes, he did all this stuff very bad. However, he did all of this for Tommy. He did all of this for his family. He did all of this. At first you could tell Malcolm really didn't want to do any of this, but like he said, he listened to his wife's death over recording. Now anybody could say, well, that stuff happens all the time. We could do better things about it. But he says that's not going to get rid of the symptom. Just because we put more money into the Glades does not mean that the people are going to rise up and stop doing what they're doing. No, they're going to keep going to degradation. They're still going to do bad things. They don't want to become better. They want to stay where they're at. And for Malcolm's character, I feel that that's where they did him right. They did him right, and he is a sympathetic villain because we can see from his point of view that he is right. He is completely right. He has the right to do that, and going to that levels of extreme, that is completely evil. But if you really think about it from his point of view, no matter how much money you pour into these poor established communities, what is it? What is that going to accomplish? The gangs are still going to rape it down to its bare minimum. People are still going to get pillaged. No matter how much money you put into the police department, the police can only do what's in the confines of the law. No matter if you rebuild the buildings. Now you're basically telling the rich to keep giving up money and rebuilding all this stuff, but the people inside of it are not going to do anything about it. And that hits home. That hits very, very home. And I don't think a lot of people understand that Malcolm, in all of his nature, he did the character very well, and I think John Barrowman deserved a lot more than what a lot of people gives him credit for. Now, once we get to season 5, we're gonna meet Prometheus, but I think that the story and the narrative for that was very, very well done. But character-wise, Prometheus was all over the place, and we didn't understand him very, very well. We understood his goals, but we don't know him. Through season 1, we understood Malcolm Merlin. We understood him, and then in season 2, they advanced more on his story, and then by the time we get to season 3, we know even more about Malcolm's character, and that he's quite possibly the best villain they've ever created on that series. It to me, it feels like it's a shame how they basically reduced him down to he's cannon fodder for Oliver, and that makes no sense. That makes no sense to experience. It makes no sense to skill, and it makes no sense to the narrative of what they're building. They made Oliver after what he hits. Again, I'll get into the season finale later, and my problems with the season finale when it comes to how they did. No, season 2. When we get to season 2 and a little bit of what they did in season 2 with the Malcolm's character, but Oliver's character was written very, very well. I liked his character. Now let's get to the biggest problem that I have with season 1. And that is how they did Laurel Lance. This character has been around since the 1980s. She is a generational character. She's not just a character they just created to rehash an older character. No, she's a generational character. She is the daughter of the original Black Canary, Dinah Drake, who married Larry Lance and had Dinah Laurel Lance. She never had a sibling or anything like that. I understand them introducing a conflict between the two of them and introducing Sarah Lance. And once we get to season 2, I'll bridge a little bit more of that out. But they really kind of screwed her character over. Now, I completely disagree, and I do not believe the stories that Stephen Amell just couldn't find an attraction level um, towards Katie Cassidy. And I'm going, well, dude, because if you read what they're doing, if you read what they did to these two characters, there's no way you could find that level of attraction. There's no way you're going to find that chemistry that's needed. You're Katie is honestly showing that she can be that doe-eyed girl and that girl that really can stand up for herself, and they did a damn good job doing that. The problem is that you wrote Oliver to be so offstandish. You wrote so much bitter and conflict between the two of them. How in the hell can you find chemistry? And then when people sit there and say about that, well, there was better attraction between Oliver and Stephen Amell and Emily Bett Richards, and I go, that's because they just met each other. There is no weight. There is no history. There is no conflict between the two of them. So they just meet each other. So of course you're gonna find her being that doe-eyed girl and she's flippity floppity all over the place. It makes no sense to the character itself. It makes no sense to the whole scope of what the narrative is saying. If they pursued it a little bit better with that Oliver and Laurel were gonna come back together again, then everyone would be in for it. I would be more in for it. I think that Katie Cassidy acted her ass out and acted her heart out to give this character a lot more than what was written for her. I also do believe that 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 they really screwed the pooch by putting Tommy as that third wheel into the whole situation just to create that CW drama, and I don't think that was what was needed. Over the past 5 years, during the 5 years when he was on the island, they got together. So that doesn't mean that she's just as innocent as Oliver is. I mean, she has to live her life too, and Tommy really does care for her, and that makes a lot of sense. But the moment Oliver came in there, Tommy's character should have been more going closer to his dad, and that would have made the conflict later in the season when Tommy finds out about Oliver's secret, and he has to basically live with that secret up until his death. It would have made more weight, and it made more understanding that this is what was going on, and Tommy was being actually the better man and allowing Oliver and Laurel to try to continue on with their relationship, because they deserved it. At least Oliver can deserve something. But by him pushing her away completely every single time, to me that was a huge backpedal to the character, because we got in an episode where Slade was talking to him and he pulls out her picture, and he says that, who's that? And he goes, this is my girlfriend. And he goes, what did you do? And he goes, I slept with her sister. You think that girl is gonna forgive you for sleeping with her sister? Man, you're as stupid you're just as stupid as any other guy. There's no way she's gonna forgive you. He goes, yeah. But the thing is that he's been fighting hard to become that guy that she knew that he was gonna become, and that's what made it, to me, right before the penultimate episode. It made sense. He bared his soul to her, and he told her that island didn't change me. All it did is it revealed to me the person that you knew that I always was. And that, to me, was more heartfelt and more honest between these two characters ever since the very beginning of this series, because from the very beginning she didn't want nothing to do with him. She was still pissed off that that her sister is now dead, and she was screwing her sister. But the thing is that she still loved him. She still gets doe-eyed around him sometimes. She actually always calls him for help, and this and this and this and this and this. She gives defense for a lot of the things. And when she found out that he had all these scars and there's things that happened to him, she actually wanted to know. But as her character, she knew that she wanted to know, but she knew he would never tell her, and it was up to him to tell, and it's his responsibility to reveal it if he wants to, because that's not something that you just force someone to ask. If a person goes through that much of trauma, they're not going to be very open and want to talk about it. They want to basically be just he will reveal it when he's ready, and that's where a lot of people in that season bugged me about that. Like one of them is going to be Thea. um Kudos to that actress, Willa Holland, for withstanding the amount of BS that people gave her. And it was annoying. Her character was so effing annoying in that first season that I wish that they actually wrote her out by season 2. I kind of wish they wrote her out, like she went off to college or something, or she did something else with her life. But she stuck around. She did everything she possibly could, but they just did not know what to do with her character. They introduced a sibling and did not know what to do with this character. And to me, that was another misstep. However, Dinah's character, and again, I'll get to Willa, I'll get to Diggle and Felicity and Quentin as best I can, and I'll definitely touch a little bit more on Tommy and Malcolm and the whole situation with the Dark Archer. But I do personally believe that and Felicity, of course. And but I feel that they did a huge misstep with the Dinah's character. We all know that she was badass in that season. She took out a shotgun. She went toe to toe with this other person. She took out 2 guys who were trying to kidnap her. Yeah, she was a damsel in distress, but she wasn't a true damsel in distress. She wasn't screaming her heart out and not fighting back. She fought back, but I mean, of course, these guys are big lumbering thugs, and they basically overpowered her. There's nothing she could do about it. She's not a physical fighter. And that wasn't getting boring to me. That wasn't, because it made sense for the narrative of that episode that she was going to be put in harm's way and they had to take care of it. But I personally do feel that they honestly did not know what to do with Dinah Laurel Lance. They did not know what to do with her character. They listened too much to the character. They listened too much to the fan base, and I still disagree that Steven just couldn't find that chemistry with Katie. That means to me that Katie's a better actress. She's a way better actress than any person on that series, because there were times where she smiled and got doe-eyed. You could see she got doe-eyed, and the scene where Oliver, he opened his heart to her and they had sex. You could see it in her face. She was backhanded. She was like, this is it. This is what she's always wanted. She wants Oliver. And I was like, are you kidding me, dude? There it is. There's the chemistry that we all know. These characters have a lot of history. And they had a lot of history. And they wrote that they had a lot of BS behind their characters. And Oliver just did not feel that he was the right guy to give her that life that she deserves, because he's on this mission to clean up his dad's messes. And she doesn't know if she could be able to open her heart to him again, because she doesn't want her heart to be broken. And that's understandable. That's completely realistic. It's understandable. But for us, the audience, and for these tumblers to say to an audience member that that there is no chemistry in the two of them, that's not real. And I go, are you kidding me? Dude, what the hell are you talking about? Have you ever seen what happens between 2 exes who basically become best friends, and after a bad divorce, and it's because, one or the other cheated, or just irreconcilable differences? Dude, they find out there's a reason why they were attracted to each other, and they still have that friendship, and they still can maybe get back together again. That's real, and that to us makes more sense than dropping the doe-eyed tech girl and letting her become the love of Oliver's life, other than the girl that's been with them. They've been together since she said, we've been together since they were in middle school. And they're now he's about to graduate from high school, going to college. She's going to law school in Starling City. And you're kidding me? They've been together for a very, 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 very long time. And you're telling me that there's no chemistry between the two of them? Dude, they wrote too much baggage between the two of them for us to go, oh, maybe they were together. And then the scenes where she was being that that girl that we know that she is. We know that she loves Oliver with all of her heart. She was gonna open herself to him. She probably was gonna want to have his baby. I mean, there were things with her character that we just didn't get very much of, but you could tell. You could tell with how she was acting that it was there. And Oliver was being Oliver, like, you want to move in? That's a pretty big step. Like, so what do you want? I mean, I don't understand that. There is chemistry between the two of them. There was chemistry between the two of them, and you wrote too much baggage where they are that separate couple, but they're trying to figure out, can they be friends first? And they're trying to be friends, but Oliver's still attracted to her. That is his love. That is his greatest love, and he doesn't know if he could be that person for her, and it's understandable. That's a huge misstep with the character. That's the biggest misstep with Dinah's character throughout that whole first season. But I give huge kudos to Katie Cassidy. I really, really loved her interpretation of Dinah Laurel Lance, even though she wasn't the badass biker tomboy that she's supposed to be in the comics. She's a mechanic. She knows how to build things. She's rough and tumble, and that's where I was like, okay, well, that's Dinah Laurel Lance, and that could be grown over time. But we got straight by the book lawyer Laurel, and I had no problem with her being the damsel in distress. But you also saw that she wasn't truly a damsel in distress. She actually fought back. And she fought back more in that first season than Felicity did in 6 seasons. This 7th season is, I don't want to get into that, but Felicity has barely fought back all the time. And people go, well, she's a tech girl. I say, well, Laurel's a lawyer, but she was raised by Quentin Lance, who is a first grade detective who becomes a lieutenant and then becomes a captain. You telling me that she's not going to understand how to defend herself? That makes absolutely no sense. And then on top of that, she did take self-defense classes from the YMCA. Some people were like, well, so what? And it goes, yeah, that means that she knew how to defend herself. That makes sense. So it makes sense for her character to know how to defend herself, because she is a policeman's daughter. There's no freaking way she's going to just not know how to defend herself. It's the same thing for for Dinah Lance, her mom, to not know how to defend herself. She is the wife of a police officer, and a first grade detective who goes against homicides and rapists and killers. You don't think she knows how to defend herself? I guarantee she knows how to pull out a gun and shoot people in the chest. I guarantee you she knows how to do it. It makes sense. It's just it was a lot of stupidity when it comes to this. But for Dinah, which I'm going to advance further in season 2, which I feel that was the worst thing they ever did for her character, and also the worst interactions between her and Oliver, which makes no sense to both their characters. It was literally they were poisoning the well of Oliver and Laurel ever getting back together. They poisoned it. They ruined the character through Dinah's interactions with Oliver, and her being the main foil for Oliver being the district attorney of Starling City, and being that person that's basically going after him because he's the one who killed Tommy and this and that. And it just really screwed everything up. And I personally feel that they really did not understand what to do with this character. And I'll get into more of that a little bit later. Now let's move on. Let's get to John Diggle. I think that David Ramsey did a phenomenal job with this character. This is a TV created character. This guy has no backstory in the comics. This is a character that was created for this show. Sorry, I didn't want to curse. And I didn't mean it that way. He was just created for this show, and he grew to be a fan favorite, and he is a fan favorite of mine. I like John Diggle. I think that he was a great character for Oliver to be that Jiminy Cricket for him, especially in the first season. By second season, he was actually pushing more of him and Felicity together, which makes no sense. He should have been more pushing him with Dinah. It should have been like, no, get back with Dinah. What? And then especially when he was rekindling his relationship with his ex-wife. So it was like, are you kidding me? Why are you pushing him and Felicity to be together when he does have a true love in Laurel, and maybe if he reveals his secret to her, maybe that would be very, very helpful for the growth of his character, and also give a lot of answered questions for Dinah about what happened with Tommy, because all she knew was that the arrow went in and Tommy didn't come out. So she's going, okay, well, boom. And I felt that, why the hell did they do that with Diggle? And then season 3 he was okay, and then season 4 he was terrible. No, season 3 he was terrible. Season 4 he was okay. Season 5, what? And then by season 6 it was like, oh Jesus. In season 7 it was like, okay, we're back to almost season 2 of Diggle again, where they know they know what to do with this character, but then they turn him into it was weird. And I have to rewatch all the seasons to get a better understanding of what the heck they were trying to do with John Diggle. But to say right now, season 1, John Diggle was great because they were giving us a good character and they were building a good backstory for him with the death of Andy, and that was a weight that he was carrying for himself, and there was a weight, and there was also his sister-in-law and his nephew, and the romanticism that he had towards her and the attraction he has towards her, and the fact that he feels that Andy might not like him doing that. And I go, well, I mean, if you feel it's gross, then don't pursue it, and that's perfectly fine. But I feel that they did not know, again, they didn't know what to do with the character. But I mean, John Diggle was created for the show. He's really, really good. He was a great Jiminy Cricket, and in my personal opinion, I feel that John Diggle was in a way replacing the Roy Harper character. He was being that true brother to Oliver Queen instead of Roy Harper, which that should have been his brother. That should have been, I'm not saying a blood relation, but that should have been such a best friend for Oliver Queen that should have been like a brother to him. Like that should have been the next Tommy Merlin for him. But they did it through Diggle, and that was okay. But I feel that they backfielded the whole Roy Harper character for John Diggle. Even though, like I said, they wrote Roy with the greatest story and gave him such a great legacy to his character. And he was in the series for a good long time until they wrote him out, and that was because there was some I'm not saying bad behind the scenes, but he understood that there was a lot of stuff going on, and there was no true room for him. So he was like, you know what, just write me out and everything go. And that was by the end of season 3, I believe. No, yeah, no. I think it's season 3 or season 4. That's when he was gone. Like they wrote him out. No, season 4. It was season 4. It was season 4 they wrote him out. But that's all I want to say about John Diggle. Now, we're going to get to one of the most controversial characters of this series, and make no mistake, I do like the Felicity character. I think that a lot of people don't realize that she is a comic book character. She's supposed to be the mother-in-law to Ronnie Raymond as Firestorm, and she's supposed to be to Firestorm what Moira Queen is to Oliver Queen in the comics. She's the person that basically screws with she's supposed to be evil, but they wrote her to be this, to put it nicely, they made her into the stereotypical geek girl that everybody can relate with. And there's nothing wrong with that. To be more derogatory, which not to no curse about her, she's a Tumblr fanfic. That's what she is. She's a Tumblr fanfic that was created, and people liked her because she was relatable to their idealism of what comic book heroes and the people around them are supposed to be. And I go, no, this character should only have been on there for maybe the season, and then they wrote her out. Like, there was no reason for her character to be around. Her whole journey was to help find Walter. That was it. And then they wrote her in, and I thought that she brought truly nothing there. I mean, somebody goes, well, she was a hacker. I go, well, Oliver knows how to use his computers. Like he says, I know how to use computers too. So what? They really didn't need a computer specialist when he's a guy that just says, find this person. Okay, I'll go hunt them down. Do it the old-fashioned way. It's like, what are you doing here? It's like, to me, it felt like they tacked her on, and they just left her, and they just said, "Hey, you're fine here." And there was no true growth with her character. She was always behind the computer screen. And to be, again, completely blunt, they wrote Felicity's character in the same light they wrote Dinah's character. Like, she's the one that literally will say to Oliver, "I know you. I know the type of man you are." And it goes, "No, you don't. You met this guy last week. How can you say that you know him?" One, she doesn't know the playboy nature that he has. Two, she doesn't know the type of man he was before the island. She only heard the stories, and then when we do get a behind this a flashback of her, she she saw Oliver and basically got wet in the pants. That was it. That's all her character was. She was supposed to be getting wet behind the pants, in the pants, because of Oliver. And I personally felt that that was a complete misstep for her character, and I feel that that was very, very stupid. And they really completely screwed this whole thing up. And then they poisoned the well with Oliver and Laurel, and then they kept pushing Felicity and Oliver, and it was like, it wasn't subtle. I mean, I'll get into season two, but season one, like, you could tell that she was just there and she was helping, but um, even she was kind of championing between Oliver and Laurel, like, "Hey, you know what? Go be with her. It's fine." And I was like, good. I mean, that's all her character was there to do. She wasn't there to be this another romantic character. And I feel that was hands down the biggest mistake they ever did with that character, is make her the love interest for Oliver, which makes no sense to him, makes no sense to her, makes no sense to the character, and it makes no sense to the legacy. It was like you secondaried the Black Canary, Dinah Laurel Lance, to tell a story that makes no sense to the character. If um, and I'll get it, and I'm gonna stop it pretty soon. I don't want to make this too long, but um, and at the end of all this, I'm gonna do a huge recap of the season, and also I'm gonna do a how would I fix it, and um but let's finish up here, and I'm gonna talk a little bit about Maura Queen, and because she was pivotal to the whole season. Also, Willa Holland, Roy Harper, Malcolm, he's pivotal too, but he's the villain. He's the whole villain of the season, and Tommy, and then Quentin Lance, because they were pretty much almost all secondary. But Maura Queen was very, very integral to the whole season, and I'm gonna touch her a little bit on her character, and then I'm gonna cut it here, and I'm gonna start up a new one, and then I'm gonna finish off the rest of the characters, and a gigantic recap of the whole season, and also how I would personally fix it with my knowledge of the comic books. I'm gonna try to keep the future stuff out of the way, but how would I immediately fix this season so it keeps the narrative, but it also keeps the legacies of these characters. But let's touch on Maura Queen. Susanna Thompson, for a woman of her age, she is a gorgeous woman. I mean, she did a very good job. She had a glamour to herself. She personified that mom for Stephen Amell's Oliver Queen, and she did a very good job with it. She was being a mom throughout that whole season. It wasn't like she was being scrupulous, or she was being lying or anything like that. It was more in the fact that she was being the mom. She was taking care of her family, and she just wanted a level of peace with her family by finally now having her son back from being on that island for so long, and also the situation that was going on. Um, I think that Susanna Thompson did a phenomenal job with what was given to her, and they really showcased that there is so much more with her, and that she is deep. And by the time we get further in the seasons, they kind of lost it a little bit with her, and they showed that she's just as dirty, she's just as corrupt as Robert, and even as Malcolm. But they kind of reared it back just a little bit by saying that she does it all for her family, and we can understand that being a woman in her position, and also being that a woman of I'm not gonna say a privilege, because I think that she never had money. Robert wanted to marry her. He found that she was very beautiful, and she got married into the money. So she was, I think she was a product of the Glades. Like she comes from the Glades, and having her character be, I'm not going to say the word stoic, but being very there for her family. They did a really good job with that, and they also made it where Robert was a very flawed man, and you got to see that in a few episodes, that when Robert was going to reveal about this undertaking, that she says, "Well, don't tell me her name. I don't want to know." And he goes, "No, no, 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 no. You don't understand it. It's not that." She goes, "What the hell you mean?" And when he reveals it, you can see her. She's distraught. She's very upset. She goes, "No, don't do this, Robert. No matter how many problems you and I have, and all this stuff that's going on, and the cheating, but you can't do this. This is not the type of guy you are. This. You are not this type of a person." He goes, "Am I?" And when he reveals that he killed a man and covered it up using what was in front of him, she said that, "So you're gonna cover up a murder by murdering more people, Robert? That's not who you are. You're not that person." He goes, I understand that. I understand, you're having a momentary weakness around these young, pretty women, but you're not a murderer. This is not who you are. And I like how they did that. That was real. That was real, because her character, she's not a murderer. She isn't. She does what she has to do for her family, and in a way, she will kill for her family, but she wouldn't blatantly kill for her family. She'll just get them out of the way and make them disappear. She'll use money to make them disappear. And I like how they did that, and it was very, very well done. And I think that Susanna Thompson um, should get a lot more credit, because when her talks with Oliver, and especially with her being with when he was the Hood, when he was being the Green Arrow, it made a lot of sense for her character to be very, very scared and fight back. She's like, "No, I'm gonna fight back," but she doesn't want to die, and Oliver doesn't want to kill his mom. He doesn't. He doesn't want to put an arrow in his mother's chest. It's just that he just wants her to finally tell him what the hell has been going on, and she's just being very, very very silent about it, and she doesn't want to talk about it. And he should know how that feels, because he's not talking about that island, and a lot of people are not putting him on point about that. Like, so you want us to reveal our secrets, but you're not revealing yours. And that should have it where he goes, checkmate. Like, you want us to open up, but why don't you open up? And it's like, okay, that makes a lot of sense to his character. Um, but the thing is that Oliver at that time in season one does not know how to. He doesn't know how to talk about it, and it feels like if he starts talking about it, he's going to reveal a lot more than what's needed. He's going to talk about things that he surely doesn't want to talk about, and also reveal about how he learns how to bow and arrow, and also the fact of a lot of the secrets that he never revealed that we're supposed to get into later in the series. And I don't want to reveal that, but he doesn't want to reveal that he is the Arrow, and he's this Hood, he's this vigilante. But the funnier part is that it's like, dude, you can reveal what happened to you on that island. It just fill in the gaps. Lie if you have to. It's not like you can't lie. Say that, the first year I did this and this and this and this and this, and then yes, I wasn't alone on an island. For almost 2 years, I had to deal with mercenaries and pirates and stuff like that. He can make up so much crap. No one's going to dispute it, because no one was really looking over there. He was in international waters. Who the hell's who's gonna verify his story? No one. The only person that can verify his story is Deathstroke. Is going to be Slade Wilson, because he was on the island with him, so he knows. But he could say for 2 years he could say for 2 years I was dealing with a mercenary group on that island that was trying to blah 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 blah. And he goes they're gone. He goes, I had to kill them all. And he goes, and there was a guy on the island that helped me, but he left. And there was a girl on the island, and he kind of reveals about Shadow, and he goes, Shadow died. You know, he can reveal a lot, and I felt that there was a lot they could have done right there with Mora and also with Oliver and everything else. However, with Mora's character, they wrote her very well. The only I'm gonna say a little nitpick I have with her, and it was more in the fact that the moment Malcolm took Walter, she shouldn't have resorted to basically hiring an assassin to kill him. She shouldn't have done that. She shouldn't have done it. What she should have done was she should have just what she should have done was gather evidence. Gather so much evidence that she could reveal that he's the one behind this undertaking. Get her um isolate away these those subsidiary companies and make it look like that someone else was in charge of them and let them take the fall for it, or say that these subsidiary companies are through the Malcolm Global Group. You can make paper trails. She can easily make paper trails, and then so if Malcolm doesn't do what he's supposed to do, she could say, really? Okay, well, I could tell you right now that I got the evidence. And Malcolm's like, are you kidding me? What evidence? He goes, oh, everything that's happened with the undertaking. Everything. And he goes, you're willing to put Walter's life? He goes, I'm tired of being under your thumb. If it means that Walter has to die to basically get you to stop doing this, then so be it. May Walter and may Robert forgive me, but I am not living my life this way anymore. You are worse than any criminal. You're worse than any person I've ever met. And I'm ashamed to be a friend of yours. I'm ashamed that Rebecca married somebody like you. She could easily drop all this. Just drop all this in that episode. And you're like, whoa. She goes, and if anything ever happens to me, that evidence gets out. And I can tell you right now, you're not going to find it. It'll take you too long. And he goes, you could try to find it. You could try to find it, but you're not going to find it. And this is where she gets a computer hacker and basically creates all this documented evidence that's on a drive. And she could say that, oh yeah, it's all in. She kind of reveals that it's all someplace else. It's all scattered. So good luck trying to find it. But all Malcolm has to do is make a couple of phone calls and try to find out what the hell's going on here. And she literally says that the person I have in charge of all of this, your phone is bugged. All your phones are bugged. If anything gets out, if on the radio waves it's revealed about this documented evidence towards the Malcolm Global Group, and that comes up as a search, that person will know and get the evidence out. And there's nothing you can do about it. You can't stop it. It'll be all over the internet. That means that it's out there. So I want Walter back tonight. Make it happen. And he goes, and that would have been great. That would have been a great way of bringing back Walter and also making her seem like she's tired of being this soppery mess throughout this season, trying to gain back Oliver, trying to get her daughter back on straight, to be this person underneath Malcolm's thumb. And I would have been perfectly fine with it. I'd have been very, very happy with it. But I feel that they wrote her character. Like I said, they wrote her character very well. However, they should have made her very, very strong and ruthless, because we know she is ruthless. She's a very ruthless woman, and she's ruthless to get her family back. So why wasn't she ruthless towards Malcolm? Because she knows that Malcolm is a ruthless man. She knows he's ruthless. The only thing is that she doesn't know that he's the guy in the hood. That's the only thing. If she knew that he was the Dark Archer, she probably would never have done it. But in this situation, in this scope, in this story, it makes more sense for her to be just as ruthless as him and say that I have every ounce of documentation, and I'm willing to burn all of our families to the ground if it means that you get to go to jail, because this is all you. You dragged us all into this. This is all done by the Malcolm Merlyn group. The Global Group, I'm sorry. The Merlyn Global Group. So good luck with that. And walks off. and I'd have been perfectly fine with her character from that point forward. I'd be like, wow. So she basically she dropped the mic in front of him and walked away, and throughout the rest of the season, Malcolm would have been just stepping on eggshells around her because he's worried about if he can't find that documented evidence. You could have made in the episode before that, before when Walter is back and they have all this whole thing going on with her and him, that he finds out I have the evidence, and she goes, what are you talking about? He goes, oh, you mean this guy? And he puts up a phone and he shows the guy that she basically had hack, and this guy gets his head lopped off, a straight jihad, like who, she's like, he goes, you know what? And then you could have did all this stuff about Malcolm just basically just says, there's a reason why I wanted you a part of this. And that's the reason why right there. And you have Maura just sitting there going, she lost her leverage. She goes, don't take Walter. And he goes, Walter, I don't need him anymore. I'm good. I have everything I need. Just be happy with your family. And taps her shoulder and walks out. He leaves. He goes, no, I have everything I ever wanted. I just want to get rid of that evidence. He barely made any moves. He just wanted that evidence. And once he found it, he was like, okay. And she's like, please don't take Walter. Please don't hurt my family. He goes, I'm not going to hurt your family. I will never hurt your family. I'm not. I love Oliver. I love Thea. I do still love you. I love Robert. But, however, don't get in my way. And he walks out, and she goes, and she's like, okay, so he's not gonna hurt my family, but she lost she lost every ounce of her leverage, she lost every ounce of it, and I was like, and I'd have been a lot better with that. So, like I said, I'm gonna end it there. I'm gonna start off with Quentin and Thea, Roy, Tommy, and definitely Malcolm, and finish this all off and do a season 1 wrap up, and what I would do to fix it. Thank you very much for coming in, guys. Have a great day.